Hi everyone, today we're going to take a look at the Tofu Cam N1 from IdeaNext. Now this is a network-based camera, so it connects to your Wi-Fi network and you can stream it on an iPad, an iPhone or any Android device. So any Apple or Android device will work. And you can see it is quite fast to update. If I put my hand here, you can see it on both cameras, very little lag. And that's only over 2.4 gigahertz, so it doesn't actually support 5 gigahertz, but even at 2.4 gigahertz it's very fast. Even the refresh rate of the camera is very fast. I mean, look at that, it's not blurring, it's really quite impressive. And you know, that's what you'd come to expect for a somewhat premium camera. So I'll just unplug it now and then give you a closer look at what we've actually got going on here. So in the box you get the USB power adapter. This is a 2 amp adapter and it comes with a UK plug, but you can actually pull that off and then you can slide these pins out and it becomes a regular US style adapter. So I'm actually very impressed with the way they've done that. It's very smooth and it works really well. The next thing you've got, of course, is the USB cable. Now this is just a micro USB cable, but it's extremely long and you're going to need that because if you mount the camera, say on a ceiling or I don't know where you might mount it, it could be quite far from a power source. So it's very useful to have a long cable, and you can use USB extension cables as well to make this even longer. And then you get the camera itself. Now it does come with this little screw-on mount. You can unscrew that and then you can screw this into the ceiling, and they even give you the mounting screws for that, or you can mount it on a wall depending on what the best angle is, and you can swivel the camera like this. So it's quite easy to mount and you should be able to get this angle just perfectly, and it's a super wide angle lens. I'm actually very impressed with how wide they've got it and how tall. It's actually better than some of my existing cameras. And at the back you'll see this is where the micro USB power goes in, and this is where you can put your micro SD card. And the impressive thing about this is it does support 64 gig SD cards, which is very good because a lot of my equipment doesn't actually support 64, it only supports up to say 16 or 32. I mean, it's 2016 and there's still devices that don't support 64 gig micro SDs. Anyway, this one does support it, so I'm happy about that. Now underneath you'll see that there's a Wi-Fi name here and a password. Now that's the default. When you take it out of the box, you'll set your Wi-Fi on your iPad or your cell phone to connect to this, and then you run their configuration app, and that's where this kind of camera really sells itself. The setup, you really don't have to know anything about networking or IP cameras. It pretty much sets itself up. You just connect to the camera, run their app, and then you put in your current Wi-Fi password, like your existing home Wi-Fi password. The camera will then connect to it, and that's it. Even when you go out of the house, it will go through their cloud service to be able to connect to the camera, so you don't have to do any network configuration. So that's why these cameras are so popular. Now, word of warning, this is not my favorite type of camera. I actually have a favorite brand, which is Hikvision, because they're just so reliable and they've got so many configuration options. But I do understand that this kind of camera is good for someone who doesn't want to do any kind of setup, but you are limited. You can only use their application. You can't connect to it through the web browser, can't use other off-the-shelf IP camera apps. So you know, like, I understand why people are going to want this because it's so easy to set up, but it wouldn't be my first choice. But, you know, it's okay. And another thing is, I would not recommend this as a security camera because it's crashed on me a few times. Aside from that, sometimes it gets stuck in night vision mode, or it gets stuck in day mode where it doesn't turn on its infrared. So I wouldn't use this in any kind of mission critical setup, especially security, but as, I don't know, say a baby monitor, or to monitor the elderly, or just for something more trivial like checking your garden or something like that, this will be fine. But honestly, please don't rely on this as a real security camera because it's just not up to the job. So let's plug it back in and then put it in our watt meter and see how much power it actually consumes when it's running. So I'll plug it in and you should hear the relay inside the camera click. There you go. And right now we're at 1.7 watts. But I think once it gets up to full steam, once it's fully booted, it will go up to around 3 watts. But let's give it a minute and see what it gets to. Okay, so we're now, we did see a jump up to around 3.5s. So let's try reconnect. The annoying thing about the app is it's only in portrait, although when you do connect to the camera, it can then go to landscape. So I would like to see a tweak there where it can also go in landscape when you're on this config. So there you go, we can connect now. And that's just pointing, there we go, pointing at my t-shirt, the Yogscast, which I'm a big fan of their YouTube channel. Anyway, anywhere from 3 to 3.5 watts. It's fluctuating a little bit. Let's try and kick in the infrared and see what happens. There you go, infrared's kicked in. We're now at 4 watts, 4.6. So maybe up to 5 watts when the infrared is on. So not too bad, pretty low power. And you can see even in infrared mode, it's really good quality. I mean, I cannot complain about the quality of the image. It really is quite impressive. There you go, you can see me there. And bear in mind, this is a live stream. If you were recording this on micro SD card and then you pulled it off, you'd actually get an even better picture. So you can see there, it did swap from infrared to daytime, but it seems a bit hit and miss. So that is one of my concerns with this camera. Now, another cool feature is you have this metering where, let's say that one area is too bright and one's too dark. You can click metering and then you can click over here and it will adjust the light depending on that. So you can see it's now overexposed me to make this area visible that wasn't visible before. Now, if I click back on my face, it's more focused on making me visible and less in the background. So that's a pretty cool feature. It has PTZ, which is pan, tilt and zoom, but it doesn't actually do anything. They even advertise that on the box, but it's not supported, so I'm not sure what that's all about. But look, I mean, it works really well. Even outside of the home on 3G and 4G, I found it to be pretty smooth. So I really can't fault it on that side of things. It is a good camera, it's good quality and it works. The only thing that I have complaints about is the fact that it's not super reliable because it does sometimes crash. But otherwise it's pretty good camera. I would like to see things like the web interface, to be able to integrate this with my network storage so that I can record onto that, and some other cloud options, for instance Dropbox, something like that, because it's all well and good recording on a micro SD card, but all someone has to do is steal that or steal the whole camera and then you're screwed. You don't have your recordings. They do say that they have some kind of cloud storage option, but I couldn't see any option for that, and honestly I probably wouldn't trust it because they're just some random, no offense, but they're just some random company. So, you know, I'd rather see Dropbox support or OneDrive for those Microsoft users, things like that. So there are some improvements that can be made here. Now let me give you a look at the menu setting because there are some interesting options. You can see here you can set a password. Now the thing that annoys me with this is they've limited the password to 6 characters. You can't make it any longer, and that's kind of stupid because it would be quite easy to brute force someone else's camera. The only good thing is that you need the unique ID of the camera, and that's a very long confusing string. So the chances of someone actually accessing your camera is very slim, and what I've done on my router is actually block this so it cannot access the internet. So if I want to access it outside of the home, I connect to a VPN server inside my home and then I can access the camera. So that's my preference. You can set the rotation because of course if you mount it upside down or sideways or something, you might have to rotate it. Anti-flicker, 50 Hz or 60 Hz depending on your country, although to be honest I don't see much difference between either of those. Then recording, you can set it to record continuously or just on an alarm trigger, which is motion detection, or at a set interval. Overwrite, well basically, do you want to overwrite the memory card once it becomes full? Basically what that does is it will overwrite the oldest recording with the newest one. So you have like a continuous rotation of recording over the files, or you can just stop when the SD is full. Day and night, you can set it to always nighttime, always day, or auto. Now the problem that I mentioned earlier is that sometimes I find it gets stuck in day mode or night mode. And when it gets stuck in night mode, it's not really a problem because this night vision on this thing is absolutely superb. Even in full daylight with the night vision turned on, you get a very good image. It is black and white, but it's a very good image. But the problem is if it gets stuck on day mode and then the infrared doesn't come on when it gets dark, you're pretty much screwed because you won't see anything but black. So you might actually prefer just to keep it on night mode because at least then you know it's going to be reliable. Watermark is just whether you want the time and date watermark, and then you can format the SD card. You can say I've already formatted it, so pretty easy. And if you want to go to playback, you just go up here, playback, and then you can search between specific dates and then play back a video. So this is me earlier when I was obviously talking to you. Play failed. I don't know, why did that happen? Let's try again. Nope, failed. Let's try another one. Yeah, so see, this is the problem, like reliability issues. Let's see if we can stream. Yeah, we can stream. Let's go back to playback.
Well, anywhere from 3 to 3.5 watts, it fluctuates. I'm a big fan of the YouTube channel. Anyway, 3.
So, yep, it does work, but sometimes it has a few hiccups. So that's a shame, because imagine how good this camera could be if it was just a little bit more reliable. And that's why I stick to specific brands, because some of them really have reliability down. And when it comes to security, you need reliability. And of course it does have digital zoom. If I zoom in on my face here, you can see that. And it's, you know, I really cannot fault the image quality. It's very impressive. It's really just the reliability problems that let this camera down. So there you go, that's the N1 Tofu Cam. Pretty weird name, but that's what it's called. I hope you enjoyed this and found it helpful. If you did, please give a thumbs up and subscribe. Thanks for watching.